Welcome back as we continue to talk about signposts. So the last time you saw this slide, it said all about signposts in fiction media. But today it says something a little different. Today it says all about signposts in nonfiction media. We are going to look at the same signposts that we've been looking at so far all year long, and we're going to see how they still work for nonfiction texts. Some of you may have heard some of these in years past from your teachers. Some of you may not have heard them for nonfiction texts, but even if you've heard them before, I really want you to think about what I'm showing you. This is sort of a different way of looking at them, and I want you to really see how this can help you as a reader. All right, and before we jump into the signposts themselves, I want to remind you that Detective Pikachu is here to help you know that writing is full of details. We can't just zoom through it. There's all kinds of details to help us understand what the author is saying. And those details are like clues, hence the magnifying glass. Those clues help us understand what the author is saying, see how things are connected, and to go deeper than just what's there. We can use our inferencing skills to understand even more. All right, and just like when you're taking the SBA or any other test, the iReady test, or if you go to a different state and they have different tests, we know that they're always asking you to find key details. And key details is just a fancy name for signposts. So when you hear the term key details, you can say, oh, I know what those are. Those are signposts. And they just help us to understand and to analyze or think critically about what we're reading. So just like in fiction, I still want to remind you that signposts can be found in any type of media. Media is any way that we're getting information. We're used to finding them in like books or in articles, but I want to remind you that you're going to find them everywhere. If you've been following some of the elections and you hear the candidates, they're giving speeches, and their speeches are full of signposts. I've heard them use extreme or absolute language. I've heard them quote important people and give us words of the wiser. They say the same things again and again because they want to make sure we hear it. They are using signposts in their speeches. Some of you like to read magazines, and those magazines, whether they're digital magazines or paper magazines, full of signposts, and we're going to look at some nonfiction ones this semester. If you're a big TV fan like me, you'll find signposts everywhere. And remember, TV shows, I also mean YouTube shows, same idea. Anything where someone is giving you information, you can be gathering signposts to understand what they're saying. And I want to challenge you here to take a second and think, which of these could be nonfiction? Well, I probably wouldn't have a nonfiction song. Maybe I could have one on YouTube to remember something, but that's less likely. I can definitely have a nonfiction book, nonfiction magazines. Nonfiction poetry is rare. It's possible, but I'm not going to check it because it's not very common. Definitely nonfiction can be in TV shows. I love watching the Sci Show on YouTube. Tons of nonfiction signposts there. Can you have a nonfiction movie? Maybe, but usually movies we're talking fiction. Definitely a nonfiction blog. You can read nonfiction articles, textbooks for sure. Rarely do you see nonfiction plays, so I'm not going to check that one, but nonfiction speeches, right, where they're giving you facts. So these are all types of media where we're going to be on the hunt for those nonfiction signposts. All right, and the big idea, if someone is trying to share information or a story with you, be on the lookout for signposts. Today we're going to tackle 3 signposts. We're going to do words of the wiser, again and again, and tough questions. Now, we've already practiced these as fiction signposts, but today I want to point out that these are also nonfiction signposts. So let's look at what they look like from a nonfiction standpoint. So for words of the wiser, in fiction, we know that that's like meaningful advice or ideas said by someone wise or important. So who might be wise or important in a nonfiction text? Well, that would be our subject matter experts. That's when you hear things like scientist Rachel Jones says, or pediatrician Kamala Hayes says, right? If you've got a subject matter expert, if they know a lot about their topic, that's a wise person. Another wise person is a witness, somebody who was there. So when we're reading articles for social studies and there are quotes directly from people who lived through it, that person is a witness. Their words have extra meaning. The author chose to include their words so you could see it through their eyes. So in fiction, it's just someone wise or someone important. In nonfiction, it's words from a subject matter expert or a witness. One clue to be on the lookout for is this, right? Quotation marks. If you see quotation marks, my first question in nonfiction is, wait a second, I better figure out who said this. If you see quotation marks, that's a good clue that you're looking at words of the wiser. All right, our next one is down here. It's the again and again. And in fiction, we talked about again and again is anything that gets repeated and it seems important. And it's the exact same thing in nonfiction. Anything that gets repeated and seems important. And I want to remind you for that, it could be a repeated topic or an idea. They might not say the exact same word, but they might be talking about the same topic. So if I was reading an article about birds, they might say things like, in the rainforest, birds flock into the canopy. You can find parrots hanging from trees. You might find, and then they're going to go on and list all these different types of birds. They might not say bird again and again, but I know that the idea of birds is happening again and again if they keep talking about different types of birds. And then the third one we've got is tough questions. In fiction, we talked about how a tough question is when a character asks a question that's intense and shows what they're really feeling. In nonfiction, a tough question is still a question, but it's either a question that the author is asking themselves or the author is asking the reader. They can use tough questions to get you to focus on what they want to teach you or to get you to think about the information they're presenting. So these are the 3 signposts that we're looking for today. The next article has examples of these, and we're going to see if we can find them. All right, today's article is called Meet a Soldier, and it's from ReadWorks. Let's see if we can find words of the wiser. So I'm going to put that up here, WW. If we can find an again and again, and if we can find tough questions. Meet a soldier. Have you ever wondered what makes someone a veteran? Meet Christopher Bain, who speaks about his Army experience. Mr. Bain is a veteran who lives in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. A veteran is a person who has served in the U.S. Armed Forces. November 11th is Veterans Day, a day when Americans honor veterans. There are approximately 22.7 million U.S. veterans living today. All right, did you find them? We already found some. We found a tough question in the beginning. Have you ever wondered what makes someone a veteran? The author wants to get us thinking about what we know about veterans right away. And did you catch the again and again? They said veteran over and over. Boy, they really want me to know that this article is about veterans. I should be able to know what a veteran is and why they're important by the end of this article. All right, so we found a tough question and we found an again and again. Let's keep looking to see if we can find any words of the wiser. Mr. Bain is just one of many veterans who visit with students. A special program helps to connect more students with veterans like Mr. Bain. It is called Take a Veteran to School Day. So how did this program get started? The program was created by the History Channel. It encourages schools to invite veterans to speak to students of all ages. Representatives from the History Channel say it's important that students know veterans. One school to get on board with the program was Stephen G. Shore Elementary School in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's where the Take a Veteran to School Day program was launched in May of 2007. Third graders met several veterans at the event. Jennifer Rowland is a teacher at the school. My students were really able to grasp the meaning and importance of Veterans Day by meeting an actual veteran, she told WR News. They loved trying on and touching an actual military helmet. I'm going to pause there because I found quotation marks. My students were really able to grasp the meaning and importance of Veterans Day. Oop, and here's more quotes. They loved trying on and touching an actual military helmet. So I found quotes. My question should be, who said that? What makes them an expert? Aha, it says right here, Jennifer Rowland is a teacher at the school. Oh, so she saw the program happen. She was there and able to be part of the program and learn from it. That's what makes her a Words of the Wiser candidate. She was a witness. She was there. All right, let's finish out this article, and then the next couple of slides are going to ask you to identify what could be a signpost from different parts of this article. I didn't point out all of them. Your job will be to find the rest. Veterans get a lot out of the experience too. Mr. Bain served in the Iraq War. I tell students a little bit about my story, he told WR News. I wanted to serve my country so I can keep Americans' way of life and keep the freedoms that we have. All right, on the next slide, you'll see a page that looks just like this. I will leave the things that I circled, and I'm going to ask you to find other examples of Words of the Wiser. There's another one hiding. What other again and agains can you find? And are there any more tough questions to help you think about the article?